I think this is one of the most special objects in the whole of the British Museum collection. It's one of those things that when you see it, when you stand in the presence of it, you understand why museums are so important. It is exquisite. It's carved in ivory. It's about 500 years old, carved on the coast of what is today Nigeria. It's of a woman, beautiful, personal. It's not that anonymous African art, just a figure. This is a particular person, and you look into her eyes and you want to know her story. Nigeria is a vast nation made up of lots of different regions. And one of the coastal regions is called Edo. And sitting within it is a city called Benin. And that was the center of the ancient Edo kingdom. And that was the area where Oba Esigie, who's someone who you see depicted in the Benin bronzes, came from. This is a mask of the Queen Mother of Benin. Her name was Idia. This was a woman who fought incredibly tenaciously to secure her son's lineage. There were two rival sons. The father dies. They both have different mothers. Idia, she wants her son, Esigie, to become the next king. And it's her strategic genius that maneuvers her son into being the next king. But this woman is steely and ruthless. But at the end of the day, what she's trying to secure is the future of this kingdom. The mask would have been made as a recognition of the incredible contribution of the Queen Mother. And it wouldn't have been worn on the face. It would be attached to someone's hip as a form of adornment. If you look at it, the hair is woven into little knots. And if you look very carefully at those knots, on the end of each one is a little figure. And that is a little Portuguese merchant. What the people of Edo State were very clever in doing was in creating a strategic alliance with the Portuguese. They traded cloth, and the Portuguese brought them brass, and they used that to create a whole new tradition of brasswork. Those Benin bronzes tell the story. They give you a sense of them taking on their rivals, consolidating this kingdom, building this incredible material culture around them. But they also were incredible craftspeople, and they would carve in ivory, in coral. Ivory being this gorgeous material that seems to luminesce almost like it's alive. It offers a sense of the sort of regality, the power of the person. Just above the eyes are two lines within which I imagine at some point there was inlaid coral or gold. You just get a sense of this being something which was so exquisitely finished. In 1885, a number of the most powerful European nations gather to divide up Africa. And for Britain, it means consolidating their presence in West Africa. You can imagine that for some of those states, they were probably quite happy as they were, independent. And Benin was one of those. They didn't want to be consumed within a British colony. And so they said no. The British representative was actually killed, and the British used that as an excuse to send in forces. And in 1897, they took Benin City. They took with them the brass plaques that they found in the Benin Palace, deeply important to the people of Benin. And they were taken and they were divided. The largest amount ended up with the British Museum. along with this mask. Museums are driven by that Enlightenment need to collect. And it has a very detrimental effect on African cultures because in that period, it was so easy for them to think, well, if there is a hierarchy of humanity, that Africa somehow sits at the bottom. The idea that these objects could be framed as being simple or primitive was far more about the way in which they were collected than they actually truly were designed to convey. It takes until the early 20th century for a generation of open, more liberal people to begin to rethink the way in which African art should be seen within European museums. There is a generation of European artists who help us to reconsider these works. Picasso had a large collection of African materials, and in 1907 he wanders into the Palais de Trocadero, falls in love with Africa, and it exactly coincides with him beginning to fashion Demoiselle d'Avignon. And it is the piece that absolutely catalyzes modern art. This mask is so special. It's a beautiful physical essay in power. If you get the chance, go and see it.